is Janina, and I'm here to talk to you about giving a good scientific speech. What should not be difficult, because if you want to give a good scientific speech, you just need to do it in the same way as Martin did it half an hour ago. So that was easy, but I have 45 minutes, and I have some time to spare, so do not worry. Let's speak about science. I teach statistics. I teach statistics to students, mostly at Trinity College Dublin, but I also teach statistics to people on the internet, so whoever wants to listen. But to be honest, my first job ever, the first job ever I applied for was very different. And it was actually a job at McDonald's. And the job description was not very difficult. It was that I was given a bunch of balloons, and then whenever a kid came into McDonald's, I would give the kid a balloon. Simple, right? But unfortunately, I got a call that I will not get the job because I did not pass the psychological tests. But good news, 2 days later, I got a call from the university that I got a position of an academic teacher. And that's how it started. But that's not my only success story, because my second success story is that I once gave a talk about statistical regression. It's available on the internet. And for a very brief moment on the internet, it was more popular than the musical video of this guy. It's a disco polo musician from Poland. I wanted actually to play you parts of it, but whenever I tried to do it, my computer crashed, and I can see why. So you have to believe me, it's good. But for a brief moment, my talk was even better, and I'm very proud of it. And that's why I'm here. I will talk to you about science and how to talk about science, and I guess first scientific joke for today, not the last one. I'm your type 2 error. I'm the best you've never had. Okay, it's actually, you don't have to laugh, because I laugh at my own jokes, so it makes things simpler. But I'm actually happy that you laughed, because if you didn't, I would have to say that you are so mean you have no standard deviation. So how to give a good talk? It's actually about three pieces of one puzzle. And when I was thinking about it, how to talk about it, I actually discovered that giving a good presentation is exactly the same as doing another thing which I am quite good at, that is making three-dimensional animal cookies. So if you want to give a presentation, or if you want to make animal cookies in 3 dimensions, you have to do 3 steps. Mostly, you need to decide what to cut, how to decorate it, whatever you want to say, and also how to present it. So let's start with cutting, because yes, we have a lot of things to say, but we have to cut it. You don't want to be the person on the stage that has like 40 minutes talk. You have 3 minutes left. You are on your 3rd slide out of 500, right? So you need to decide what to cut. And now, step 1 of the science of not boring people to death with your presentation. Hey, have you ever heard, it's always good to have a very relevant, significant, and smart quote in your presentation. So I have a smart quote in mind. I will finish my conference presentation early, so I don't have to do it on the plane. Said no academic ever. So why bother? Just imagine that it is a very long flight and that you want to do it in a very good, comprehensive way, not in 10 minutes. Step 1, you have to decide who is your audience and what are your conditions. Who is your audience? Okay, that's easy, because you may think, okay, I'm talking to academics. And whenever you ask an academic, okay, what do you do for a living? What do you usually answer? Because I say, oh, you know, that's what I do. I drink and I know things. And most academics do that. But actually, you always have to think about it. How much do your audience know about the topic you are speaking about? how much terminology do they know, and what do they need. And also, you have to think about conditions. For example, what time of day it is. And these guys taught us that. They actually had a great research, but I mean, not great for the guys they studied, in 2011. And they analyzed some legal rulings of Israeli parallel system. So they had a bunch of judges who decided whether prisoners will go home early or will they have to stay in prison as long as they were told to. And they found out that the average probability of actually sending the prisoner home early was 65%. But actually, it went down to almost 0% as long as they went by. And then it went up back to 65% again, you know when? After the dinner break, after lunch. So not good news if your audience is hungry, and not good news for the prisoners. What can you do about it? Oh, you can give them food. If they are PhD students, they will highly appreciate it. Not only PhD students, but also you can give your audience attention. And now you can give them a good laugh. For example, Okay. Have you heard the latest statistical joke? Probably. So you can use it. It's not my own joke, so you can use the joke. Or you can use something that is called Hitchcock's bomb. And it is a storytelling structure which can be used whenever you want to make a movie or whether you want to make a good scientific presentation. What is it about? Oh, just imagine that you want to grab a friend and go for a beer. And you sit and you talk about, usual things you talk with your friends. So for example, which regression model is the best and why the Bayesian one, right? And you talk, and at one moment in the scene, the bomb goes off. And you die. So congratulations on your part. And if you die in such way, your death was worth 2 seconds of emotions to your audience, right? You talked, you died. Nothing to worry about it. But let's imagine that you went for a beer with your friend. Oh. Okay. You went for a beer with your friend, and you talk about, usual stuff you talk about with your friends, so which regression model is the best and why the Bayesian one. And this time, I'm telling you, as my audience, that underneath the table, there is a bomb. And it counts down from 10, 9, 8, and so on. So now I have 10 seconds of your emotions, and I have 10 seconds of your attention, because you want to know what will happen. Now, how can we use it in presentations? Oh, easy. Have you ever heard about that guy who actually found out that chickens would highly appreciate having their own Tinder? And I know what you are all thinking now. You think, Patrick, swipe. Actually, my boss had a different idea. I told him about this research on chickens and Tinder, and he was like, Janina, please tell me you drink in the morning. There needs to be an explanation. But actually, there was a study about chickens who prefer beautiful humans. And what they did is they grabbed a group of chickens, and they grabbed a group of students, because why not? And they trained chicken to react to different photos of females. And they were trained, if they thought that the female is attractive, they gave a sign, both chickens and students. And then when they plotted it, oh, that's interesting. Look, chickens were thinking the exact same thing as students. So they found the exact same photos attractive. Whoa, that's fun, right? But if it is fun, if I put it in this way, so I gave you the Tinder for chickens, you want to know, okay, where can I swipe the chickens on Tinder and stuff like that. If I were about to do it the other way around and tell you, hey, we trained chickens to react to an average human female face, but not to an average male face, actually don't do it this way. You should turn around and read from the slide. You can't go wrong if you do it this way. Okay, well, that's not that fun, right? So no, you need to do it this way. We have Tinder for chickens, we have two groups, we have students, we have animals. And actually, it is very common that we compare. Have you ever thought about it? It's very common that we compare students to animals. And but I love my students. That's not my point. My point is that I once had an exam, and I had a student in the exam, and he had this exam question to explain to me what is an experimental design. And I told him, okay, let's make your life easier, so just give me an example. And he was like, okay, I will take one group of students, and then I will take a second group of sheep. And he was like, Janina, do you know what's the difference between students and sheep? And I was like, no, amaze me. And he was like, sheep are made out of wool. So that's the one thing you can learn from today's speech. So actually, he graduated 5 years ago, and I am still wondering whether he really thinks that sheep are, made out of wool. But we will never know. But the important fact is, no spoilers, okay? It is so sad when you do it in your presentations. It's like seriously so sad. And if you don't believe me, just imagine that you go to a cinema and you decide, oh, what to see. Maybe I will see Titanic. And you sit in the cinema and the Titanic starts, and it starts like that. Jack meets Rose, Jack likes Rose, but Rose is engaged, poor Jack, and so on and so on. Spoiled all the fun. So why do you start your presentations with agendas? Oh, what is it? Sad cat is sad again. So don't do it. So I would like you to think that actually every day is your grant application day. And each speech is your Nobel acceptance speech. It always has to be as good as you were giving it to the Nobel Prize committee. Doesn't matter whether you give it to your students or to chickens or whoever you want. Step 2. Step 3. No, 2. I can't count. Well, it's quite funny because I'm a statistician. So point 2, you need to collect raw material to know what you will talk about on the stage. Now, I will not stop here for too long, simply because we all did it. You already did it, when you were doing this thing called PhD. There's no better gift. Explaining the process, I was like, my mom was like, Janina, what do you do in life? I was like, oh, just look. That's what I do. So you already did it. You collected your raw material for your PhD. So now you need to put it in a story. So in other words, you need to decide how to decorate it, so how to make it interesting. The simplest structure of whatever you are saying or presenting looks like that. Oh, it will rock your world. Look, things are not cool, but I have an idea. Or, now it's cool, but it will change in a moment, so I have an idea. And you have an idea. I mean, I really hope you have an idea and you have a solution for a problem that you will talk about on the stage, simply because if you don't, I have a gift for you, and it's a time machine. You should go back in time, because there are much better ways to spend 3 years of your life than crying yourself to sleep doing a PhD and finding solutions to a problem. And if you have the solutions and you have the raw material, put them on a post-it notes and put them on your wall. Why? Because then it's easier to manage and to change your ideas, to apply changes, manipulate, add things, and delete. Much easier if you than writing it down on a page. Okay, so usually when I do presentations, and I do around 150 presentations a year, my wall looks like that. It's actually my living room. And it's a good idea because, as I said, you can easily manipulate your ideas. You can find the structure of your presentation. Not a good idea if you have a cat, because recently I realized that there is something wrong in my presentation about regression. Something is like the math doesn't fit, and that was the solution. I also realized that once my husband was vacuuming, and then some of the post-it just fell down, and he just put them randomly on the wall. Still a good presentation. And then, you have the structure. You don't have a cut, hopefully, so it works well, and you have to decide how to present it. And okay. Most of people think it's easy. Okay, so now I just need to put it on slides. What could possibly go wrong? Message for those guys, a lot. So some of the scientific slides, show of hands, have you ever seen a scientific presentation with a slide like that? You have a headline and it has no sense, there's no need to read it, but you still read it. And it's not even that you want to read it, you just can't stop. And the difficult thing is that you are reading it, you are no longer listening to me. Oh, and pay attention to this. All the important information. You have to put all the information on each slide. What's your name? What's the conference? Where are we? We are in Cambridge, UK. It will not change on the next slides. No need to put it again. Okay? So, yeah, we've seen slides like that, and mostly it's the reason why they don't want to visit us. I mean, why would they? And if you don't want to believe me, I would like you to think and remember that bullet points are like Fiat Multipla. Not pretty. And now, again, you do not have to believe me. There is someone who will explain it much better than me, and it will be, Richard Hammond.
Before I show you the whole vehicle, just look at me, and now think of the funniest thing that you've ever encountered, okay? The funniest thing, because you are going to need your sense of humour at full speed. There it is. The multipler with body kit. Oh, yes. I mean, this is, and then we've got... and along, look, what's...
Think about it. Bullet points, Fiat Multipla. You will never forget it now. And I would like to tell you, because, yeah, it's easy to critique, but let's give you some good ideas. A good slide is like a good billboard, or like a billboard. This is a good one, right? A good ad. This is not a good one. So whenever I see a slide like that, I am this dog. Who taught us this? Nancy Duarte. If there's one name that I would like you to remember if you want to learn more about presenting science, also creating slides, Nancy Duarte. And she was the first one, not the last one, but the first one to introduce the idea that we actually have two types of documents when talking about presentations. First, we have slides. We all know how a slide looks like, or how it shouldn't look like. But also we have slide docs. And there's a very important difference. Slide, that's the slide, right? I have some graphics, I have some numbers, I'm talking. And because I'm talking, it all makes sense. What's a slide doc? Something like that. Exactly what I'm saying is written here. Why do we do it? Because not always we need meetings. Sometimes you don't have to be here on a stage, right? I can just create a PDF document, write it all down, and send it to my audience. And I don't have to be here. So if you decide at one point that you will create a slide doc of 50 pages, then you will print them, stand here and read them, why? You don't have to be here, because your audience will manage themselves to read it. So keep this in mind. This is also a slide doc. Again, I'm not needed. A presenter is not needed. Your audience will manage. Now, example. Let's say that you want to create a scientific presentation about making pancakes. So you can do it this way, but you already have this dog dead inside in mind, so you don't want to do it this way. But you can just, 3 simple steps to make it more accessible, let's say. You can just find the most important things, underline them, and say, hey, do you know how to make fluffy American pancakes, for example? Oh, you have to whisk all the ingredients, so eggs, milk, flour, and so on. Then you have to beat it until the butter is smooth, heat a pan, and fry both sides. Easier to understand, right, than this. Or you can do it the other way around. You can say, hey, how to make fluffy American pancakes. You take all the ingredients, you whisk them, and you fry. But there is a trick, because have you ever opened a PowerPoint, slide? By default, it looks like that. It's actually a slide doc. So you have to be smarter than that. I have an anecdote, because long time without an anecdote. I had a student who decided to be smarter than Pearson's, the one who invented correlation. And he once during my classes actually calculated correlation coefficient and told me that the correlation coefficient is 2.54. And I told him, okay, so we now have to call the statistical office and tell them that they have it all wrong because they think it goes from positive correlation goes from 0 to 1. And he was like, I have no credit, can I borrow your phone? So you have to be smarter sometimes, even than the statistical office and even than PowerPoint. Now, to make your life a bit easier, there are plenty of materials online, free icons, free graphs, free fonts, free colors, free photos bank. There's even a website that you just put a type of variables that you have, and they will create these beautiful graphs. Beware, not all of them are actually useful and nice, and you can download it from this page. And I will also show it at the very end, so don't worry about it. And there you will find all the links, so all the tools, let's say, tools that will help you to create nice slides. But now, if you are worried that I'm saying nice slides and you are like, okay, but I'm not a graphic designer, I would like to introduce you to a guy who is a master of disaster in terms of slides. Only slides, because he actually is was, unfortunately, brilliant man. And I love him deeply, and it is Hans Rosling. Hans Rosling, okay? So he was a statistician, and he also talked a lot about statistics and science to people who, believe me or not, do not care about statistics. And he was very good in it. But I will show you a fragment of my favorite talk by Hans Rosling. It looked like that.
Look in the data. We underestimate the tremendous change in Asia, which was in social change before we saw the economical change. So let's move over to another way here in which we could display the distribution in the world of the income. This is the world distribution of income of people. $1, $10, or $100 per day. There's no gap between rich and poor any longer. This is a myth. There's a little hump here. But there are people all the way. And if we look where the income ends up, the income, this is 100% of world's annual income. And the richest 20%, they take out of that about 74%. and the poorest 20%, they take about 2%. And this shows that the concept developing countries is extremely doubtful. We sort of think about aid like these people here giving aid to these people here. But in the middle, we have most of the world population, and they have now 24% of the income. We heard it in other forms. And who are these?
I love it. I mean, it's like, Hans, what were you thinking? You have this distribution, and then you have this big coin, and then the coin breaks down, and then you have the lightning, but it doesn't matter. Because his story is so good and his presentation is so good, I can live with that. And if you are not a graphic designer and you are not crazy about creating slides, that's fine. Just remember that whenever somebody is listening to you, like you are listening to me, hopefully still, every person in your audience have a cognitive battery. Hopefully it is full when they come to your presentation. But then you start, right? And maybe, okay, now you know you have this brilliant joke about statistical jokes, probably. Haha, everyone laughs. So that's good. But then you show them the agenda. You show them the bullet points. Oh, maybe you show them the block of text. Oh, maybe you think, oh no, I actually want to be a graphical designer. And, okay. It's good you are sitting down, because that's a real slide made by Pentagon. So, yeah. And when you think, okay, I want to become a graphical design hero, but actually I want also to sound smart, so maybe I will add a graph to my presentation. Okay, Pentagon, once again, a graph. So if you don't know what to do, just do a graph. But now the problem is that if you do all this and you have the bullet points, the graphs, the Pentagon slides or whatever, or as Martin said, cut on the keyboard visualization, the cognitive battery is critically low at the very, very end of your presentation. Oh, if it's critically low at the very end, not bad. If it's critically low after 3 minutes, not good for you. Because at some point, your audience is like, okay, catastrophic failure, right? And at some point, your brain is like watching this really bad presentation, and it is like, no, I don't want to do it anymore. I just want to go on the internet or on Facebook and watch some, cats with bread on the head or whatever. We are quite lazy as people, cognitively lazy. And usually, I come to class and I start each of my class with the same question, and I'm like, and that's the proof that we are lazy. I'm like, hello, dear students, do you want to work alone or in pairs? And they're like, yes. So, of course. So just keep this in mind, we are lazy. And if you think about it, there are so many things happening around it that your audience and people who are listening to you, whether it's during a conference or during a lecture or during whatever, they actually pay you in attention. That's how you even say it in English, pay attention, right? So keep this in mind. And now we have 2 last steps. I like them a lot. You have to practice. Why? Because the better prepared you are, the less stressed you are. So it's actually better for you when you actually practice at home. And last but not least, at day 0, you have to try, and you have to try really hard not to die. Interestingly, in a 2014 study, Americans were asked, okay, what are you the most afraid of? Do you think they are afraid of death? No one would be scared of that. 25% said that they are more scared of speaking in front of a crowd than of death. What's actually quite strange, because keep in mind that 8% of them are scared more of clowns than of death. And I can't blame them. I mean, something is wrong with them. Come on. But for the very end, I would like to tell you that it's okay to be scared. I mean, yeah, whenever we are about to give a speech and come here and I am here alone and there is a big crowd in front of me, it is okay to be scared and it's natural. But I would like you to think about a grading system in a high school in Ohio in America. They actually, whenever they grade a student based on the knowledge or skills or whatever, they have 4 grades. A, B, C, easy, and the 4th grade, NY. So whenever they grade skills and knowledge of a student, there's a grade called not yet. And mind, not yet does not mean never ever will you ever learn how to do it. It simply means, okay, now you are not ready, or maybe now you are not good enough, or maybe you need to practice more. And again, if you want to remember, think about infants. I mean, no one laughs at infants that they cannot walk. It's quite natural to us that, okay, they have to practice more, they have to learn more, but it is a process and they just need time. And on the other hand, whenever we fail, for example, fail when public speaking, oh yeah, we are very harsh on ourselves. So think about infants. Do not laugh at infants and do not laugh at yourself either. And I always like to think that if you think, okay, I don't want to do it, I don't want to come up on stage and I don't want to speak to all those people, I would rather actually go and meet with a clown and then die or whatever. Think about one sentence, and I love this sentence. And I always have it in mind when I start a presentation. Think, what would happen if once Marie Curie had decided never to present her research to public? Oh, that would be a pity, right? So have this in mind, and thank you very much.